All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. All right. Let's see how many students we have in class. 22. Okay. So, today we're going to be working on chapter 2, quiz 1. Okay. In this chapter, in this quiz, we're going to practice what we have covered so far. Okay. So, you're going to practice the summary measures for categorical and numerical variable. So first, I'm going to walk you through how to answer these questions, and then you can work with your teammate to complete this quiz. Preview. So the main objectives for this assignment is to review the material we've covered so far, and we want to practice summary measure for numerical and categorical data with Excel. And please don't use built-in tools like stat tools, because we are just going to practice and learn the functions defined inside the Excel. And you can collaborate with your teammate, but each student needs to submit one file. But midnight, this assignment is due at midnight, 11:59. Okay.
Okay.
So the first question. Let me make sure everything is right. Just the recording. Yeah. In the first question, let me download it. Please check this file. Check to see if you can download this file on your machines. Can everybody download this file? Is that accessible to you? Either we would have to actually, let me check the chat. So we would have to actually start the quiz to see it and download. No, I want you to check if you can download these files, these links. I mean, this P0201. Sometimes, especially over the past 2 days, I've had so much problems with Canvas. So I want to make sure you can download it on your machine, this file. Please click on this link.
I got it to download.
Say that again, please.
I said I got it to download.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, that's to make sure. Okay, so in this, the first question, we want to work with categorical data and report the count and percentage of the data. Okay, so for the first part, uh, for each year, create tables of, let me edit these questions. You just need to work on one of these. For 2008. For the year 2008, create tables of count and etc. And you will also need to repeat it for the nationality. Update question, save. Please just refresh your web browser so you can get the new version of the assignments. Preview. So for the year 2000, create tables of gender and of nationality. Then create column chart for this counts to indicate noticeable change in the composition of the two classes and etc. Okay, so for these two columns, I want you to do this: gender, male, female. Okay, so you need to use the count if function to count the number of male and female. For example, let's see what's the last record, last cell. This you need to use Control Ent. You have to count the number of male and female between B2 and B228. Control Home. You need to enter this function that equals count if. First need to define B2 and the column B229. Here's the data range. Our criteria is for we want to count the number of male here, and then close parenthesis. We're going to repeat it for female, but here for female we just need to change M to F. Okay. Here is the count. Here's the percentage. Okay. And here we take the total, which equals sum to 27. Okay, let's see. To 28. The last item is 228. I have to correct my formula. 228. Okay. 228. Yes. The first column is just the title, and we have 227 rows or observation in our data set. And we can calculate this percentage that equals E4 divided by sum of these two, or just the total, divided by E6. Here's the 7, and for female that equals E5 divided by the total for E6. To make sure it is correct, we can take the sum of these two cells to see the total sums to 1 or not. The total is 1. This shows correct. And you need to do the same for this nationality. You can sort this row by their name. The way you can sort is to go to the sort menu. Sort menu, custom sort, and then here you need to define find the column. Let's first select these columns, Control Shift End. Okay. And then go to sort, custom sort. We divided by nationality. We want to sort the entire table by nationality. Okay. Okay. And here you can see the individual nationalities. We have Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Croatia, and etc. For each one, you need to create a kind of cell or row, like we did with male and female, like Austria, Brazil, and etc. And then report the count and percentage. This is for the first part of the question. Create table of count, gender, and nationality, then create column chart of this. And from these columns, you can define the column chart or bar chart. You need to select your data range and then go to Insert, Recommended Chart, and then we select bar chart here. Here's the bar chart, and you will need to do the same for the nationality. That's what you need to do for question 1, and you need to do everything for the nationality column. Is there any questions so far?
Nope.
Is this going to be recorded and put on Canvas after this class?
Yes, I will record this class meeting and upload it on Inbox, so you can use it to answer.
Okay.
Okay, because I was going to ask what the function you used for the count was, but if you're going to put it back up on Canvas, I should be good.
Yeah, I was wondering
Sure.
the same thing. Thank you.
Sure. And for the second question, please also check this question to see if you can download this file, P0209. This is about the numerical variable. Okay. Okay. This is a kind of time series data. We are monitoring one variable and the time they work at a company and etc. Okay. The time that they work in a company. List the time requires to service 200 consecutive customers at a fictional fast food restaurant. First, you need to create a histogram of the customer service times. How would you characterize the distribution of a service time? Okay. So first we need to select this column. And again, you need to highlight it by Control-Shift down. Go to Insert, and I ask for histogram. Okay. We select histogram and then OK. Here is the distribution of our variable, which is the time variable. You need to determine whether our distribution is symmetrical or skewed to the right or skewed to the left. And it is clear from this distribution that this distribution is skewed to the right. All right. So that's what you need to do for the second part. Create a histogram of the service time. The characters, how would you characterize the distribution of the service time? The answer is going to be skewed to the right. And then you need to calculate mean, median, mode, these numerical summary measures. Interquartile and first and third quartile range of this distribution. So first we need to find out the last item in our column, 201. So we need to report these variables. Numerical summary measures. Okay. Mean, median, mode, mean, minimum, maximum, and what else did I ask for? Interquartile, first quartile, third quartile, okay? And interquartile range. That equals third quartile range minus first quartile range. And first and third quartile range, okay? So for the mean, we use the average function that equals average. We need to define the range between $B2 through B201. Okay? 52 is the average of the distribution of this variable, time variable. Median, again, median equals $B2 through B201. Okay, there is a slight difference between mean and median. It has a kind of specific meaning. Mode, the variable that appears most often in our data set. Mode, you can use either of these two functions, mode for single and multiple. Okay, again, our data range is B2 through B201. 31 is the time that appears most often in our data set. Minimum equals mean. Let me just copy this part so I don't have to repeat it again and again. Okay, so equals mean. Minimum time is 5. Maximum is 142. First quartile, that equals quartile. You can use any of these three formula. This is our data range, and we need to enter first quartile. Select first quartile. Third quartile, that equals quartile. Again, our data range is between B2 and B201, and we need to select the third quartile range. Oh, I forgot. I missed this part. Third quartile range. And interquartile range, that equals third quartile minus first quartile. Here's the interquartile range. So mean, median, and mode, you know that they give us information about the center of the data distribution. If mean is bigger than median, it means our distribution is skewed to the right. We have seen it in the histogram. And again, here we see the difference between these two. The difference is not so big, but whenever mean is bigger than median, it means skewness to the right. If mean is less than median, it means skewed. Our distribution is skewed to the left. Mode is the value that appears most often in our data set. Minimum, maximum, these are used to measure the distribution, how distributed our data is. And first and third quartile range. That's how we need to do the second part. For the third part, which measure of central tendency is more appropriate in describing this distribution? Again, you need to talk about skewness to the right or left. And if, as there is a kind of a slight difference between these two values, we can use either of mean or median. If the difference is big, you have to provide a kind of sound reasoning to choose between mean and median. But for this case, we can use either mean or median. For the fourth part, find and interpret variance and this standard deviation of the service time. These two measures give us information about how spread out is our data, about the distribution of our data. Okay. So for standard deviation, let's first get the variance. You can use any of these formulas, variance sample or variance for population, P's for population. Suppose we have this sample, var sample, data range is the same, and close parenthesis. Here's the variance, and standard deviation, which is the square root of variance, that equals a steady deviation of the sample. Again, we need to define the range here, B2 through B201. This one is the square root of this one, this part. So for the fourth question, you need to report the variance and interpret deviation of this variable. Variance means it is all about the deviation of the distribution from the center, okay, or how spread out is our data. That's what variance or standard deviation report about our distribution. Okay,